Sarah, before we dive in, I want to share a story with you. To be honest, it's a story about one of my greatest failures as a young doctor, but it ultimately led to my most important discovery. Her name was Evelyn. She was a retired school teacher in her late 70s, one of the kindest and most diligent patients I have ever had. She suffered from severe, debilitating joint pain and a fatigue that never seemed to lift. And she did everything right according to the textbooks. Everything I told her to do. She ate mountains of leafy greens, fresh salads every day, and a colorful array of vegetables that would make any nutritionist proud. But she just kept getting worse. The stiffness in her hands made it difficult for her to hold a teacup. The pain in her knees meant she had to give up her cherished daily walks. Her energy, her vitality was just vanishing before my eyes. And as her doctor, I was at a complete loss. I ran all the standard tests. I checked all the boxes of conventional medicine, yet nothing I did helped. In fact, she was declining while following my best medical advice. After she passed, that failure haunted me. It forced me to ask a question that goes against so much of my training, a question that many in my field are afraid to even consider. What if the very foods we champion as the peak of health, the fresh tomatoes, the spinach salads, the colorful bell peppers, were actually the hidden source of her suffering? What if some of our healthiest foods are quietly harming our seniors? That single question changed the entire course of my career. And today we are going to explore the answer.
Dr. Morgan, that story about Evelyn is so powerful and frankly a little chilling. It speaks to a deep fear many of us have that we can be doing everything we're told is right and still be moving in the wrong direction. It truly sets the stage for a conversation that feels incredibly important. Welcome everyone to Health Voices. I'm your host Sarah, and I'm here with Dr. Morgan, a physician who has spent his career looking deeper than the textbooks, observing the subtle patterns that define senior health. Today we are embarking on the journey that Dr. Morgan began after his experience with Evelyn. We will investigate the quiet connection between some of our most common healthy vegetables and the chronic inflammation, pain, and fatigue that plague so many after the age of 60.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. And yes, that is precisely the journey. It's a journey into listening, into observing, and into respecting the profound changes the body undergoes.
So let's start there, Doctor. Before we name any specific foods, can you explain to us on a medical level, what are these profound changes? Why does the body of a 70-year-old react so differently to the same plate of food that a 30-year-old might thrive on?
It's a fundamental question. The body of a senior is not simply an older version of a young body. Its internal operating system has changed. Think of your digestive system as a highly efficient processing plant when you're young. It can handle almost anything you throw at it. But as we age, several key departments in that plant begin to slow down. First, stomach acid production declines. This is a well-documented process called hypochlorhydria. Lower stomach acid means proteins are not broken down effectively, and crucial minerals like vitamin B12, iron, and calcium are not properly liberated from your food. This can lead to nutrient deficiencies even when you're eating a nutrient-rich diet. Second, the gut microbiome shifts dramatically. The diverse ecosystem of beneficial bacteria in your gut begins to lose its variety and resilience. This can lead to an overgrowth of less beneficial bacteria, a condition we call dysbiosis, which is a primary driver of bloating, digestive distress, and even systemic inflammation that can manifest as joint pain. And third, the body's main filters, the liver and kidneys, become less efficient. their detoxification capacity slows down, so compounds from food or the environment that a younger body would filter out and eliminate without issue can begin to accumulate. They build up in the system, particularly in sensitive tissues like our joints, creating a low-grade chronic state of toxicity and inflammation.
So it's a triple slowdown digestion, gut health, and detoxification. The whole processing plant is working with less staff and older equipment.
That's a perfect analogy. And when you understand that, you begin to realize why certain foods, even healthy ones, might become a burden rather than a benefit. This brings me to the first vegetable that my experience with Evelyn and many patients since has taught me to look at with new eyes: the tomato.
The tomato, doctor, that's shocking. It's the base of so many healthy diets, Mediterranean Italian. It's celebrated for its lycopene and vitamin C.
And that is all true. Tomatoes are not bad food. But we must look at the whole picture. Tomatoes belong to a plant family called nightshades. Nightshades contain naturally occurring compounds called glycoalkaloids, primarily one called solanine in the case of tomatoes. In a young, efficient body, these compounds are processed and eliminated without a problem. But in an aging body with a slower detoxification system, these alkaloids can begin to accumulate. And where do they often accumulate? In the synovial fluid of our joints. The result isn't a dramatic, immediate allergic reaction. It's a slow, persistent, low-grade inflammation. It's the morning stiffness that won't go away. It's the aching knees on a damp day. It's the hands that can no longer grip a jar tightly.
So there's a direct chemical reason why it could be linked to joint pain?
There's a strong, observable connection. But there's another layer. Tomatoes are also highly acidic. As we age, our body's ability to maintain its delicate acid-alkaline balance, or pH, can weaken. To neutralize excess acid from the diet, the body has a brilliant but costly mechanism. It draws alkaline minerals from its own reservoirs. It pulls calcium from your bones and magnesium from your muscles. So, with every spoonful of that comforting tomato soup, your body might be silently making a withdrawal from your bone bank account to keep the peace. Over years, this can contribute to the very osteoporosis and muscle weakness we are trying to prevent. I remember what Evelyn's first doctor, a colleague of mine, told me after she passed. He said, "You know, it's interesting. Many of my senior patients with the worst arthritis eat tomatoes almost daily. But there's no definitive research, so I don't tell them to stop." That conversation never left me. Sometimes we need to pay attention to the patterns of pain, not just the published studies.
To look at the person, not just the population. It's a powerful thought. What is the second vegetable on your list of quiet disruptors?
The second one is even more of a sacred cow in the health world: raw spinach. For decades, we've been told it builds strength, that it's packed with iron and vitamins, and it is. But for the aging body, raw spinach presents a serious challenge due to its extremely high concentration of compounds called oxalates.
I've heard that word before, usually in the context of kidney stones.
Exactly. Oxalates are natural compounds that can bind with minerals to form tiny, sharp crystals. In a young person with strong kidney function, these crystals are usually filtered and excreted without issue. But in an older adult whose kidney function may have declined by 30, 40, or even 50%, the kidneys can't keep up. These sharp microscopic crystals can start to build up, not just forming kidney stones, but also depositing in the joints, causing a type of gout-like pain and inflammation. Perhaps even more insidiously, the oxalates bind to minerals like calcium and iron in your gut before your body even has a chance to absorb them.
So you could be eating a calcium-rich food alongside a spinach salad, thinking you're doing the right thing for your bones. but the oxalates are essentially stealing that calcium before you can use it.
That is precisely what can happen. It's a nutritional theft. You think you're making a deposit, but the oxalates are making a withdrawal at the front door. This is why many seniors can be eating a healthy diet, yet still suffer from fatigue, mineral deficiencies, and achy joints. The problem isn't just what you eat. It's what your body can actually absorb and utilize. I once did an informal experiment with a small group of a dozen seniors in a community I was working with, all of whom had persistent joint pain. I simply asked them to eliminate raw spinach from their diets for 6 weeks. At the end of the period, 11 of them reported a noticeable improvement in their morning stiffness and energy levels. It wasn't a double-blind peer-reviewed study, but it was a powerful lesson in the wisdom of lived experience.
And what about cooked spinach, doctor? Does that make a difference?
It does. Cooking spinach can reduce the oxalate content by a significant amount, anywhere from 30% to nearly 90% depending on the cooking method, like boiling or steaming. So if you love spinach, choosing cooked over raw is a much safer strategy for the senior body.
That's a very practical tip. And what is the third and final vegetable on this list of foods to reconsider?
The third is one that adds so much color and crunch to our plates, which makes it all the more surprising: bell peppers, especially the red, yellow, and orange varieties. They seem so innocent, so vibrant. But they present a potential triple threat to the aging body. First, like tomatoes, they are members of the Nightshade family and contain those same inflammatory alkaloids that can irritate sensitive joints. Second, and this is a serious modern concern, bell peppers are consistently on the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list. This means they are among the produce items most heavily contaminated with pesticides. As we discussed, the senior liver has a reduced capacity to detoxify these chemicals, which can store themselves in the body's fatty tissues, including the brain, potentially contributing to cognitive fog and inflammation over time.
So even choosing organic might not solve the whole problem because of the nightshade issue. You mentioned a triple threat. What is the third?
The third threat is lectins. Lectins are sticky plant proteins that can be very difficult for a sensitive or aging digestive system to break down. For some people, they can bind to the intestinal lining, causing irritation and contributing to a condition called increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut, which is a gateway to systemic inflammation. I saw this firsthand with an 82-year-old neighbor of mine, a lovely woman who ate sliced bell peppers every single day as a snack. Yet, she was plagued with bloating digestive discomfort and swollen knuckles. On a hunch, I gently suggested she try removing them for just 3 weeks. The change was remarkable. Her bloating subsided, and she said the fire in her knuckles had cooled down for the first time in years. We hadn't added a single pill or therapy. We had simply removed an obstacle.
Doctor, this is truly eye-opening, and I'm sure it's challenging some long-held beliefs for our audience. The idea that these 3 staples, tomatoes, raw spinach, and bell peppers, could be connected to the very issues we're trying to solve is a profound thought. And for everyone watching, if this conversation is striking a chord with you, if you or a loved one has been struggling with these kinds of unexplained aches and pains, let us know this is resonating. Please type the number 1 in the comments below. It tells us that these deeper conversations are what you're looking for. And please take a moment to subscribe. It's free, and it's the best way to support our mission to bring you this kind of in-depth health information. So doctor, now that we have this list of potential disruptors, the tomatoes, raw spinach, and bell peppers, the immediate and practical question for everyone watching is, what do I eat instead? It's one thing to remove certain foods, but it's crucial that we replace them with things that don't just fill the plate, but actively heal. So where do we begin on that positive side of the equation?
That is the most important question, Sarah. Because this philosophy isn't about restriction. It's about intelligent replacement. It's not about taking things away. It's about making space for things that serve you better. Now we move from the disruptors to what I like to call the healing allies. These are foods that don't just provide nutrients. They actively support the very systems that weaken with age. They work with your body, not against it.
The healing allies. I love that. It sounds so supportive. Where do we begin?
We begin with one of the most powerful medicinal plants on Earth, one that has been revered for thousands of years and is now thoroughly validated by science: fresh ginger root. Ginger doesn't just avoid harming the aging body. It actively revives it. Its primary power comes from its active compounds, particularly one called gingerol. Gingerols have been shown in numerous studies to be potent anti-inflammatory agents. They work by inhibiting the production of the same inflammatory chemicals in the body that many arthritis medications target, but they do so gently without the side effects.
So it doesn't just mask the pain like a painkiller might, but it works on the underlying inflammatory process.
Precisely. It goes to the root cause. But ginger's gifts go much further, and they directly address the issues we discussed in Part 1. Remember, we talked about declining stomach acid. Ginger is a gentle digestive stimulant. It encourages the stomach to produce the digestive juices needed to properly break down food and absorb nutrients. And perhaps most beautifully for seniors, ginger is what traditional medicine calls a warming food. In clinical terms, this means it's a natural vasodilator. It helps to relax and widen blood vessels, which improves circulation. Many seniors complain of cold hands and feet. This is often a sign of poor circulation. Ginger gently rekindles that inner fire, helping blood and nourishment reach the far corners of your body, from your joints to your fingertips.
So it's helping with digestion, inflammation, and circulation all at once. How do you recommend people use it?
Freshness is key. The dried powder on a spice rack has lost much of its potency. I recommend buying the fresh root. You can slice a few thin pieces and steep them in hot water for a wonderfully soothing tea. You can grate it into soups, stews, or stir-fries. But start small. A piece the size of your thumbnail each day is often enough to begin feeling its gentle warming and healing effects.
That's a wonderful and accessible first ally. What is the second?
The second healing ally is one that might surprise people, because we live in a culture that has become fearful of carbohydrates: the sweet potato. Many seniors have been told by well-meaning sources to eat a low-carb diet to control blood sugar and weight. But here is a profound truth. Your brain, the very seat of your memory, your mood, and your clarity, runs almost exclusively on glucose, which comes from carbohydrates. Your muscles also need carbohydrates to maintain strength and to move. When seniors restrict carbohydrates too severely, they often experience the very things they're trying to prevent: fatigue, brain fog, and even muscle wasting.
So you're saying that seniors shouldn't be afraid of all carbs, just the right kind of carbs?
Exactly. The problem isn't carbs, it's the type of carbs. The refined, processed carbohydrates in white bread pastries and sugary drinks are indeed damaging. But the sweet potato is what I call a smart carb. It's a complex carbohydrate, and it is packed with fiber. That fiber acts like a slow-release mechanism, preventing the sharp blood sugar spikes and crashes that cause imbalance. Instead, your body receives a steady, stable stream of fuel, which is exactly what the senior body prefers. But the gifts of the sweet potato go even further. Its vibrant orange flesh is rich in beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A, vital for eye health, immune resilience, and skin integrity. It's also a fantastic source of potassium, which is critical for heart health and helps prevent the nighttime muscle cramps that plague so many older adults.
And is there a best way to prepare it to get those benefits?
Yes, and here is a beautiful secret about the sweet potato. Unlike many vegetables that lose nutrients with heat, the sweet potato actually becomes more nourishing when cooked. The cooking process breaks down its tough cellular walls, making its incredible nutrients, like the beta-carotene, more bioavailable and easier for your system to absorb. I encourage people to roast them whole with the skin on, as the skin contains additional fiber that supports gut health. Many of my patients find that adding a portion of roasted sweet potato to their main meal eliminates that afternoon energy crash and helps them feel more mentally sharp and physically steady.
What a wonderful reframing of carbohydrates. And the third and final healing ally.
The third ally is one that directly heals the part of the body we discussed earlier that weakens so much with age, the gut. It is fermented cabbage, which you may know as sauerkraut or kimchi. Some people might hear cabbage and think of bloating or gas, but the process of fermentation completely transforms it. Fermentation is like pre-digestion. The beneficial bacteria do all the hard work for you, breaking down the tough fibers and unlocking the nutrients before the cabbage even enters your body. In their place emerge billions of probiotics-friendly bacteria that replenish the very foundation of your health, your gut microbiome.
So it's directly counteracting that age-related decline in healthy gut bacteria you mentioned.
Precisely. It's like sending in reinforcements for your gut's dwindling army. A healthy gut means better digestion, less bloating, a stronger immune system, and lower systemic inflammation. But fermented cabbage holds one more crucial, often overlooked secret nutrient, vitamin K2.
This vitamin K2 sounds incredibly important. Why isn't it talked about more?
It is one of the most underrated vitamins for senior health. Most people know about vitamin K1 from leafy greens, but K2, which is produced during fermentation, has a very specific and vital job. It acts as a traffic cop for calcium in your body. It directs the calcium you eat into your bones and teeth where it belongs. Crucially, it also works to keep calcium out of your arteries and soft tissues, where it can cause hardening and cardiovascular problems. Many seniors take calcium supplements, but still suffer from osteoporosis. A primary reason is often a lack of K2 to tell that calcium where to go. Fermented cabbage is one of the richest, most bioavailable food sources of this essential nutrient.
That is a huge missing link for so many people. So a tablespoon or two a day could make a massive difference.
A massive difference. Start small. Choose a high-quality unpasteurized brand from the refrigerated section of your store to ensure the cultures are alive. Let your body adapt. These three allies, ginger, sweet potato, and fermented cabbage, work together in beautiful synergy to warm, nourish, and rebuild the aging body from the inside out.
Doctor, thank you. You've given us such a clear, hopeful path forward. It's not about a restrictive diet, but an intelligent, healing one. And for everyone watching, if you are still with us and this information is giving you a new sense of hope and empowerment, please let us know by typing the number 2 in the comments. We'd also love to know which of these 3 healing foods you're most excited to try. Your engagement truly fuels our mission here at Health Voices. Doctor, this all makes so much intuitive sense when you lay it out piece by piece. We've talked about the disruptors and now these incredible healing allies. But it begs a very big and important question. Why isn't this common knowledge? Why didn't Evelyn's first doctor or the average family doctor tell patients to reconsider tomatoes or to start eating fermented cabbage? Why does this feel like such a revelation?
That, Sarah, is perhaps the most complex and important question of all. The answer is not that doctors don't care. They do deeply. The issue lies in the structure of our modern medical system. Modern medicine is built on a foundation of treating large populations. Guidelines are created based on large-scale studies that average out the results for thousands of people. And these guidelines are incredibly useful for public health, for things like vaccination schedules or general cholesterol targets.
But we are not populations. We are people.
We are people. We are individuals. And this is where the system can sometimes fall short. Think of it this way. A speed limit on a highway is set for the average car in average weather conditions. But it doesn't account for your specific car, the unique wear on your tires, the fact that it's raining, or that you're driving on a particularly tricky stretch of road. Your body, especially after 60, is that specific car in specific conditions. What works for the average may not work for the individual. What I am advocating for here is a move toward personalized medicine, which begins with the radical act of listening to the patient's own unique experience.
And it seems this kind of personalized observational wisdom isn't new. In the article, the author mentions ancient healing systems. How does that connect?
It connects profoundly. It's fascinating because what we're now observing in clinical practice with our patients directly mirrors the wisdom of these ancient traditions. For thousands of years, systems like traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda in India have categorized foods not just by their vitamins and minerals, but by their energetic effects: warming, cooling, dampening, drying. They understood intuitively that an older body with what they called a less robust digestive fire needs warm, cooked, easily digestible foods. Modern science is now finally beginning to understand the mechanisms behind that ancient wisdom. We can now measure the decline in stomach acid, we can map the shifts in the gut microbiome, and we can prove that their ancient observations were remarkably astute. They were practicing personalized medicine long before we had a name for it.
So how can our viewers start practicing this personalized approach for themselves? How can they begin to listen to their own bodies with that level of attention?
There's one tool that I believe is more powerful than any single blood test I can order. It is the single most empowering step anyone can take on their health journey. It is the simple act of keeping a food and symptom journal.
It sounds so simple, almost too simple.
Its simplicity is its power. I ask my patients to do this for just 2 weeks. Get a simple notebook. On the left side of the page, write down everything you eat and drink. Be specific. On the right side of the page, at the end of the day, write down how you felt. Not just the big things, but the small things. My knees felt achy this morning. I had a wave of fatigue at 3 p.m. My thinking felt clear and sharp today. My sleep was interrupted. I had some bloating after dinner. After 2 weeks, you sit down with a cup of tea and you read it. You read it not as a diary, but as a data set. You become the lead scientist in the study of you. And I promise you, patterns will emerge from the page that are more insightful, more accurate, and more useful for your personal healing than you can possibly imagine. You might see clear as day that on every day you had that pasta with tomato sauce, your joints were worse the next morning. That is data. That is your truth.
And what happens when their truth, what they see in their journal, conflicts with what their doctor might be telling them? That can be a very intimidating situation.
It can be. And this requires a gentle but firm shift in how we approach our medical care. My advice is this: do not go into your doctor's office and say, "I read on the internet that tomatoes are bad, that will likely be met with skepticism. Instead, you go in holding your journal and you say, "Doctor, I've been keeping track of my food and symptoms, and I've noticed a clear pattern. On the days I eat these specific foods, my pain levels are significantly higher. I would like to explore this with you." You are not presenting a theory. You are presenting personal data. You are inviting your doctor to be a partner in your investigation. Any good, curious physician should welcome that conversation.
That's a brilliant way to frame it. You're turning a potential confrontation into a collaboration. And what about the social challenges, family and friends who might not understand these changes?
This is where we must practice gentle self-respect. You do not owe anyone a detailed defense of your healing journey. You are not required to justify your well-being at a dinner party. A simple, calm, and truthful statement is enough. I've found that nightshades seem to bother my joints, so I'm avoiding them for now. Or, raw vegetables just don't digest as well for me anymore. That is it. Your peace is more important than their opinion. In time, as they see the changes in your energy, your mood, and your movement, their questions will often turn from skepticism to curiosity.
And finally, doctor, the practical question of cost. Many seniors are on a fixed income. Is this an expensive way to eat?
It is one of the most persistent myths that healing is expensive. In fact, this path can dramatically reduce your expenses over time. Fresh ginger root costs very little, and one piece lasts a long time. Sweet potatoes are among the most affordable nutrient-dense foods in the entire grocery store, and if you learn to make your own fermented cabbage, it costs pennies per serving. But more importantly, think of the costs you are reducing. As inflammation subsides, as pain lessens, as digestion improves, you'll likely find you have less need for expensive pain medications, digestive aids, and frequent doctor visits. You are not just buying food, you are investing in your own well-being, which is the most valuable financial decision you can ever make.
Doctor, this has been a profound and deeply insightful conversation. You've given us not just a list of foods, but a whole new framework for how to think about our health as we age. It's about listening, observing, and having the courage to question conventional wisdom.
And if there is one final thought I could leave with everyone watching Sarah, it is this. After decades of clinical practice, I have come to believe that one of the greatest tragedies of modern aging isn't the physical changes themselves, but the quiet acceptance of a false narrative. We have been conditioned to believe that chronic pain, brain fog, digestive trouble, and heavy fatigue are simply the price of admission for a long life. But what if they aren't? What if a significant portion of that daily suffering is not the aging process itself, but simply the body's reaction to being fed foods it can no longer handle efficiently? The moment you realize that your discomfort may not be your destiny, but a reaction to your diet, everything changes. That is the moment you reclaim your power.
The idea that decline isn't inevitable, but that much of it is optional, that's incredibly hopeful.
It is more than hopeful. It is a clinical reality I have witnessed time and again. I want you to imagine a possibility. Picture yourself rising in the morning and feeling truly rested, not just awake. Imagine swinging your legs out of bed and not feeling that stiffness clinging to your joints like a morning fog. Picture yourself moving through your afternoon without that predictable energy crash that steals your focus and your joy. This isn't a fantasy. This is what happens when you stop pouring inflammatory fuel into your system and start nourishing it with what it truly needs. The body stops being in a constant state of fighting and surviving, and it finally has the resources to begin restoring and healing. The fog in the mind lifts. the fire in the joints cools. That is what's possible.
And it all comes back to the story you started with, the story of your patient Evelyn. While it was too late for her to make these changes, her story and her suffering became the catalyst for all of this wisdom you've shared with us today.
Exactly. Her legacy is the lesson that has allowed hundreds of my other patients to find the relief she never could. Her story taught me to look beyond the charts and listen to the person. It taught me that sometimes the most important patterns are not found in large-scale studies, but in the quiet daily experience of one individual's pain. And in honoring that lesson, I have had the privilege of seeing patients in their 80s and even 90s regain a lightness in their step and a clarity in their mind that they and their families thought was lost forever. They did it not by adding more medications, but by subtracting the obstacles and adding the allies we've discussed today.
What a powerful way to honor her memory. Thank you, Dr. Morgan, for sharing your journey and your profound insights with us. So for everyone watching, the message today is one of empowerment. It's a gentle invitation to become an observer of your own body, to reconsider the common disruptors that may be hiding in plain sight, and to embrace the simple, powerful healing allies that can truly nourish you. If you found this conversation to be as moving and valuable as I have, please show your support by giving this video a like, and please share it with a friend or a family member. This is information that could truly change someone's quality of life. Don't forget to subscribe to Health Voices so you never miss these deep dive conversations. And for our final question today, we would love to hear from you in the comments. What is the one small change you feel inspired to make after listening to this discussion? Your stories and intentions are a vital part of this community. Until next time, take good care.